Jay Gruden is with us on Grant and Danny. Jay, what'd you think? An 8-point win, couple of late fumbles. Washington did what they could to keep the Giants in it, but they eventually got an 8-point win over the worst team in the NFL.
I don't know if they're the worst team. I just watched the Jets play. They're pretty bad.
Well, currently, the Giants have the number one.
Baby.
So for the moment, they are the worst team in the NFL, I guess.
Yeah. It was a good win. They did what they had to do. You're right. They ran the ball effectively. They ate up a lot of time of possession and made some plays. The big plays at the end of the half were critical. The punt return and then getting the interception, getting another field goal before halftime. That gave them a nice, comfortable lead, and they coasted on to victory.
What do you make of Mikey Sanders still? They want him to be a nickel cornerback. It just doesn't seem like that's coming as natural to him. It seems like he makes more plays on the outside. Did they kind of solve their own puzzle there?
They might have. I thought he was more suited for nickel myself when he first came to the team. He was playing inside. I thought he did a pretty good job. Then they had the injuries, I think, and then he went back outside and did a really good job out there, too. I think his home is probably outside now that Lattimore's hurt. And, pair him with Amos for the next couple of years might be a good deal.
Jay Gruden on Grant and Danny. Jay, as far back as I can remember in this town in these lost seasons, we collectively, fan base media, have wanted to see the young guys. I remember grilling Mike Shanahan in press conferences about getting December work for Terrence Austin and Anthony Armstrong and Perry Riley or whatever. And clearly that's just not the way football works for whatever reason. But what is that disconnect where they go out there and Bobby Wagner's still playing every snap in a game like yesterday? And some of the young guys like Sinnott gets just the one target, or they don't turn things over to the kids, and the team is still in a mode where they feel like they've got to win the game, and their best shot is the veterans. Like, take us into the mindset in the building versus outside of it.
Yeah, it's a tough call, because you do want to see the young kids play for the future, see if they're good enough to keep, or see if you have to replace them in free agency or the draft. It's kind of important, but they probably have a pretty good idea of what they've seen in practice all year in the preseason game, what they have in the young players, if they're not playing them. And it's just hard pill to stomach when you're talking to a veteran, say, hey, we're going to sit you this week because we want to look at the young kid who's clearly not as good as you, but we want to look at this young kid for next year. It just doesn't sit right with the team, doesn't sit right with the players, and it's not the right thing to do, in my opinion.
Could you do and I understand that. That's kind of the way that the league is. Whether it should be or not, it is, right? Like, that's how the league is. We could the example I brought up, Jay, was what about one series where Jordan McGee wears the green dot and Bobby Wagner's there on the sideline, and then he gets to play 90% of the snaps instead of 100. Like, is that just impossible? That's a bridge too far?
No, that's not a bridge too far at all. In fact, that probably should happen more often than not, especially on third down. Give him a package of plays on third down or whatever it might be, second and long, 2-minute drill. Maybe he could do that. But, I don't know what the case is. I think Jordan needs some reps. And we know Bobby's probably not going to be around much longer, so it would be a good call to get Jordan in there for a series or two. I agree with you on that one.
What happens if they go 3 and out? Now you got 3 reps of it. Now we're good?
I don't know.
That's all we need?
We'll figure it out when we get there, but the idea that we can't do it at all just seems really, really hard to me.
It's not how the league works. Why is that, Jay?
Because you're trying to win the football game. You put your best players to win, and these guys work their ass off to get the opportunity to play. They've earned the starting spot all season long. And they've kept it all season long. They've played through pain. They've played through injury, whatever it might be. They busted their ass in practice. And then you're going to tell them, hey, we're going to sit you this week because we want to look at a young kid. It's not the right thing to do. It might be for the long term of the organization, but for the locker room and for the team trying to win that game on Sunday, not the right thing.
Jay Gruden on Grant and Danny here on The Fan. All right, let's talk Bill. The funny thing about the argument that we've kind of been having is that they did get a bunch of contributions and won the game based on some of their kids, like Rodriguez, like Krosky Merritt, who filled in for Rodriguez, like Jalen Lane, like Mikey Sanders still. Let's talk Bill. 18 for 96 and a touchdown. What'd you see?
Yeah, he was good. He was efficient with his vision, and he had some good burst through the hole. Nice touchdown run on a inside zone that opened up like a I don't know what it was, but I don't know where the nickel was. He just stood there and watched him run in for a touchdown. But, he was impressive. And I think he ran through tackles and didn't get brought down by the first guy very often. So it was a good day for him. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup and getting carries and not getting carries. I don't know what the disconnect is there, but he looked like a starting caliber running back yesterday.
Yeah, how do you feel about him generally? Is it, kind of your style? Do you like the way he moves with the football? And would you try to get him the ball in the air more? What do you think his weaknesses are, maybe why they don't seem to love him and want to commit to him?
Yeah, I don't know if he can catch. I don't know if that's the case or not. If he's a good route runner, if he's smart enough to handle protection, if he's a good pass protector. There's an art to that, and they see him every day in practice. I would love for him to be the off schedule back and have a power back. Rodriguez and him switching would be good, but a bigger first, second down back and bring him in on third down. But if he's not a third down back, then he has to be the first, second down back. Then you got to go out and get another change of pace guy or a bigger guy or something to go with him. I don't think he's a 20 carry a game guy, even though he did it yesterday. I'd like to see him get like 8 to 10 and get somebody else about 10 to 15.
Jay Gruden with us on G&D. How about on the at the receiving position yesterday? They ended up getting production out of Terry McLaurin, 51-yard grab. They hit on a couple of explosives down the field in the game. What'd you see in the passing game structurally? Only 10 completions on 19 attempts.
Yeah, they didn't have to do a whole lot. When they did, they made them pay. It's very important if you're going to run the ball effectively to try to hit a couple of big plays, and they did that. They got Terry on a little bench post type thing, and the safety, got out of position, and Marcus put a good throw out there. So, it was an efficient day for the offense. They possessed the ball, they converted some third downs, and they had some big plays. So that's what you got to do on the road to win. And they attacked the Giants the right way. You don't want to give those guys for New York Giants a lot of pass rush situational ball, and they didn't do that. The weakness of the Giant defense is running right at them, and that's where the effectiveness came from Washington.
Jay Gruden with us here on G&D. Where are you at on Josh Conerly? A couple penalties yesterday. I know that people kind of point to those. The false starts bother me more than a hold, which is always kind of a coin toss thing to me when you're engaged with the speed rusher going around the edge or whatever. But where are you at on his rookie season and him as a prospect?
Yeah, prospect maybe. Rookie season, not so good. I probably would grade him the worst right tackle in football, damn near close to it. He gives up a lot of pressure, gave up another sack, a couple more penalties like you mentioned. He just hasn't shown a lot of the toughness skill that you want out of your right tackle. He got good feet, but he just gets pushed back a lot. It bothers me, and it doesn't really look like he has a good feel for the stunts when they do stunts against him. So he's got a lot of work to do. He's got good feet. Like I said, he's a good prospect, but he's had a rough year, if that makes sense.
Jay, I'm surprised to hear you that down on Conerly. I mean, long term, what is your outlook for him? And then also, if you could just expound upon that. I feel like the first month was brutal, and since then he's really been on a steady trajectory upwards. But go deeper into what you're seeing.
He's just had a tough year, man. I mean, he struggles in pass protection against powerful rushers and speed, and he's done some good things. Don't get me wrong. I just think as far as a starting right tackle, he's below average this year for the Washington team. I mean, there's a lot better right tackles out there that are bigger, stronger, especially in the running game and this double team blocks and all that good stuff that you have to do for a right tackle. You want your right tackle to be powerful. Most of those guys do the inside zone, the double teams on the three technique, all that good stuff. He's just not quite there yet. I think his body will develop. He'll get stronger in the weight room with Chad, and I think good things are in his future. He just had a rough year.
Is any of that kind of the doing the mirror image position switch kind of deal where he's on the right now? Is any of that because he's struggling with that 100%. Adjustment? Or what do you see there?
Yeah, it could be. That is a big adjustment. A lot of people think, just move over to the right side. It's totally different, pass sets and everything. He might be left-handed. I don't know. So that could be the issue, just adapting to that. And like I said, he's gone against some really good pass rushers and had some decent games. But over the course of the season, if you look at the PFF grade, I would imagine he's probably graded out one of the lowest tackles in the league.
So just real quick, one more on that. So you think his biggest priority is probably just getting stronger? And does that solve a lot of the ills, or is there a lot more to it?
He's a young kid, man. He's a big kid, young kid. He's got good feet. So, let's get him in the weight room and get a little bit stronger, see more things. He'll handle stunts better next year in his second year. He'll get to know pass rushers more so in the second year, what they like, what they don't like, how to block them. So, in their first year, a lot of things happen fast, man. It's the first time you're seeing some of these really good pass rushers in the NFL. Now you got a year under your belt. He'll be a lot better next year.
And to Jay's point, 60th of 83 tackles, and we could look up the right tackles specifically, but what your eyes are telling you checks out with some of the grading via PFF. Grant and Danny with you on the Fan talking to Jay Gruden. Ben Sinnott, no Zach Ertz yesterday. This fan base has been clamoring to see more of a tight end that was taken just outside of the top 50. This is a second-round pick last year who can't get any looks in the passing game. But you've had Ertz, who's been productive. So, okay, now he's out. Finally, it's time. One target, one catch. It came at the end of the game. Catch and run of 36 yards. So it was a nice play. But I guess two-parter here. So let's start with the first one. Is it possible that Ben Sinnott is this, legitimate pass-catching weapon that 2 years into his career the team has just chosen not to use? Or does their lack of targets and involvement of him tell us that there's probably not a whole lot in the tank there?
Probably the latter. I would say if he was this weapon, this great weapon, they would use him in some way, shape, or form to go along with Zach Ertz when he was healthy. 2 tight end sets are good. Maybe it's his pass block. Maybe it's run blocking it isn't good enough and to warrant him getting out there in a pass game. I don't know. I don't know if he's that big of a threat in the pass game to make up for his lack of run blocking ability, which could be the case. So I don't know. I think I would like to see him more. They only threw the ball 19 times, though, yesterday. And so hopefully in the last 3 games they'll get him some targets so they see what they have with him. So they see him every day in practice. You would think that if he was some kind of monster weapon, they would have got him the ball on the screen or something, a jet sweep, something, like the Colts use Tyler Warren and some of the other teams use their tight ends. But it hasn't been done yet. I'm anxious to see it myself.
So is what I want reasonable then, or is it just kind of a silly outsider take? What you kind of just alluded to is what I've been pleading for. Give me a tight end screen. Let's design something for him. Like, I can't believe, and I know it was only 19 attempts and 10 completions yesterday, but they didn't call one play to just see. Like, this is the Ben Sinnott play. Let's go see what the kid does here on this tight end screen or whatever. Is it that crazy to want to see that? Is that not how it works? I know it's not a preseason game in August, but I kind of wanted to use yesterday that way. Like, I got 3 plays in the playbook for him. All right, we didn't get to all 3 because we only threw it 19 times, but we damn sure can get to 1 at some point if it's a priority. Is that just an unreasonable ask or not how it works?
No, that's not unreasonable at all unless he's just been a total dud in practice and hasn't wanted the opportunity to get a catch. Maybe he hasn't deserved it. I don't know. I would like to see it too. I mean, a second-round pick, for sure, you got to give him some looks in the passing game to see what he does on game day. You know what I mean? Breaking tackles, running through arm tackles, whatever it might be. You see what kind of hands he has in traffic because he plucked it. Maybe he'll play better in a game than he does in practice. I don't know, but we got to see that. I mean, I agree with you 100% on Ben. They should get him some looks in the last 3 games. I would certainly hope so.
Well, did you ever have a guy, Jay, in your coaching career, whether it was here or as an OC or anywhere else, that maybe wasn't that awesome in practice, but when he finally got a shot in the game, said, you know what, actually, maybe this guy can play a little bit? Have you ever been pleasantly surprised in that regard?
Yeah, a little bit. We had most of new at Cincinnati. He was kind of slow, a sluggish type route runner in practice, but he got in the game. He came in and out of breaks. He blocked really well. He was tough physical after the catch. He was a lot better in games than he was in practice because of the physicality you could play with in games and not use in practice. So those guys are hard to tell because, everything's, you're touching everybody down in practice. You're not hitting anybody. And when you see somebody run through tackles on game day, you say, damn, it's on the gun's tough. And that's usually the case with running backs and some bigger type receivers.
Mo Sanu had a decent career with you in Cincy, but the first thing I think of when I hear his name is the double pass when he threw a long touchdown in Washington for the Bengals.
Yeah, that was first play of the game. That was a Wildcat formation. That was beautiful.
Was that wild? There was a direct snap to him and he threw it?
Yeah, it was Wildcat. I knew that Jim Haslett was a defensive coordinator. He would bring the safety out of the middle of the field when we went Wildcat. I told A.J. Green to just hit your head on the goalpost and throw it as far as you can and hail to the Reds or Bengals on that play. It worked.
Yes, it did.
Like a 70-yard touchdown to open up that game. The opposite of hail to the Redskins on that play. But it might have helped get you your job with the Skins. Maybe Bruce Allen was impressed.
Yeah, we had a good year that year. We were, I think, 11-5 and went to the playoffs, and we were pretty damn good on offense that year. Actually, all 3 years we were pretty good, Cincinnati.
Was that Andy Dalton's 30-plus touchdown year, or was that a different year?
No, that was it, probably. Yeah. We scored a lot of points against a bunch of teams. Points
are good. Commanders got 29 of those yesterday. They beat the Giants by 8, 29-21. What do you make of Jalen Lane? 2 punt return touchdowns this year. First time in town since 1994 that anybody's done that. As a receiver, it's been pretty inconsistent up and down. Only got the 1 target, kind of an overthrow in the end zone yesterday. What do you make of him as a 4th-round pick?
I like the fact that he's a very good punt returner because it's a big part of the game. And he'll have a role now as a 5th receiver and a punt returner. That's not a bad role to have. You can come in and spell some of the guys as a 5th receiver, 4th receiver if they only dress 4. He can run, but being a punt returner and having that weapon is very, very good option to have as far as its 4th or 5th receiver. So I like what he did this year as a punt returner. As a receiver, he'll get better and better. He just, he's young. He only caught 40 balls at Virginia Tech, so he just got to continue to grow on his route detail, and hopefully they'll get more looks next year.
Speaking of weapons, Jay, what do you make of Debo Samuel kind of this time of year? Just feels like, he's worn down, doesn't look like he has the same burst he did earlier in the year. And I guess that was kind of the deal in San Francisco at times. He was always banged up, et cetera. But what have you made of his year, and where are you at on him right now?
Yeah, it's hard for any of the receivers to have any consistency with the change of quarterbacks, that they've had so often. So I put some of that on that reason. But Debo's looked okay to me. He's had a couple drops here and there, but for the most part, he's not the same Debo he was in San Francisco, clearly. But he is pretty effective on the underneath stuff, still can run through tackles and still make big plays after the catch. But he's not really a big-time threat down the field because he doesn't run as good anymore.
Jay Gruden on the Fan. Jay, you have been in the camp that Jaden Daniels should come back and play over the last couple of weeks when we've asked you about this. So now there's 3 to go. Let's say he is cleared for contact into this week and he can get back on the field on Wednesday and ramp up for the Eagles. Would you start him, and would it matter whether or not Laramie Tunsil is going to play at left tackle as to your decision?
Yeah, I still would start him just because that's the way it should go in the NFL. I don't think you rest people in the regular season. You rest them in the preseason. There's about 20 teams that are not playing for anything right now, and they're all playing their starters. I don't really hear of anybody else. Jackson Dart's playing, and the rest of these guys are going to continue to play. So I would play him, but, I can understand if Tunsil's out and he's not quite 100%. I can understand if they did sit up, but it would be my preference to play him if he's able to play.
Does the Mahomes ACL tear here in December, which might affect all of next year, is that a data point of interest to you at all? Like, I know it doesn't change your mind because you just said what your mind was, but how much does that weigh?
Yeah, I mean, that's scary as hell. Micah Parsons going out too.
Yep.
These injuries happen, and I would totally understand if they sat him. You just asked me what I would do, and I would play him just because I think he needs the experience. It's against Philadelphia twice. They do have a good pass rush, but it's great competition and a big-time rival. And, you're going to create some great memories by going to Philadelphia and beating Philadelphia on the road and knocking them out, So, but Philly's probably going to be clinched anyway, so it may not matter. So I could go either way right now. I'm back on the fence, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. If he's healthy, I'm playing him this weekend. Oh, sorry. I should turn on my microphone.
I was going to say, you're talking to nobody.
Yeah, I'm just talking for a while.
Jay, he made the best point ever, but it was to no one.
You'd be stunned how good of a point that was, Jay. That was a 5-yard penalty for not having my microphone on.
Or having the wrong wristband like Shador yesterday. That was good.
Yeah,
that's tough.
What do you think happened with that, by the way?
It just fell out of his wristband. I don't know. One of the play sheet cards fell out. He didn't have one. So, yeah, that's a unique thing I haven't seen before, but I guess it happens.
Before we let you go on the Jaden playing or not playing thing, so
yeah,
I tend to be with you that I would have him play, but I guess here's the question. If you're a coach and you do play him and something happens, like I think the reason people shut him down is to not have to deal with that press conference or that moment. Like, what would be your message after that where you would just say, hey, this is football. That kind of thing happens. Or like, what would you say in that situation, if that makes sense?
Well, you'd be sick of it if anybody gets hurt this time of year, especially your franchise quarterback. You don't want Terry McLaurin to blow his knee out either, or Tunsil or anybody else. It's meaningful for the seasons that come in the future. So it's a big deal, but I still think that healthy players should play, and he's a healthy player and he should play, but it would be devastating. It would be a lot of finger pointing at Coach Quinn. Probably he's taken that in consideration, probably won't play him because of that. What if, the risk is maybe too big for the reward in this instance of him playing or not. So I would totally understand if they sat him, but I would like to see him play personally.
Jay, thank you as always, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
Be good, brother. There's Jay Gruden, former head coach here in town, on Grant and Danny on the Fan.